The Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by the Software Publishers Association, which reminds you that software piracy is a federal offense. When a few people steal software, everyone loses. Additional funding is provided by CompuServe, by PC Connection and Mac Connection, by Byte Magazine and Bix, the Byte Information Exchange, and by Intel Corporation, Personal Computer Enhancement.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet, and with me this week is Jan Lewis.
Hi, Stewart.
Jan, I want to show you something. This is Earl Weaver Baseball, a game from Electronic Arts. Here's the disc. It's not copy protected, so you get one of these little wheel jobs here, and you have to spin it and find a password to get into the game. This is a pirated copy of the same game.
Looks the same.
Same artwork. Here's the disc, same disc. But know what it also comes with? Look at this. A pirated copy of the code wheel. I cut this out with scissors and so on. You put this in there, and you can get into the software in the same way.
Yeah.
It seems to me, Jan, this whole problem of software piracy has changed over the past couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure has. And I think one of the things that we've seen is we have sort of a spy versus spy game going on. The folks who try to protect the software will increase their technology, and then the folks who try to unlock the software increase their technology.
And this little war goes up and back and up and back.
It escalates, yeah. And I think what's happened is that we're realizing that the answer is probably not the technology itself. The answer probably is social and public awareness type of issues. For instance, a software vendor may work with a corporation to monitor inside the corporation who's pirating software and when it's being used legitimately. Or there can be public awareness campaigns. You're stealing software, you're stealing something. It's a crime. Let's attach a stigma to it. Let's make people aware of those things. And I think that's the kind of changes that we've seen.
Jan, we're going to look at software piracy today. We'll see some of these new schemes for copy protection, and we'll see the software and hardware devices you can buy that overcome copy protection. Now, as we said, stealing software is a crime. We begin today by visiting the FBI to find out what law enforcement officials are doing to stop software piracy.
The exploits of the Federal Bureau of Investigation often involve violent crimes like bank robbery, kidnapping, or extortion. Scenes that are familiar to anyone who watches motion pictures and television. Today, the FBI is facing a new kind of criminal, one who has traded in his firearm for a computer. This sleek new crime is counterfeit software, and it has compelled the FBI to accommodate a less tangible sort of theft.
Well, it's definitely made our job a heck of a lot more complex. When we talked about an investigated theft or counterfeiting of jeans or Rolex watches or any of those products, the physical evidence was right there. It had to be stored somewhere. If you have an importation of 1 million pairs of Levi's blue jeans, you could track that type of activity. Here it's much more difficult. So you're going to have to rely on not only the actual physical evidence, but also experts to help you go through the investigation.
Some vendors estimate that 50% of the software in use today is illegal, but it's difficult to get an accurate figure. Personal computers are found in all kinds of businesses, schools, and government offices, including the FBI. The problem is that almost every computer user has the means to make an illegal copy without much risk.
The actual counterfeiting of the products can be done fairly simply. The concealment of the product in order to get it out into the market is fairly simple. Detection is rather difficult.
The potential for software piracy can exist even in secondary schools, where classmates might trade copies of games. But the Bureau stresses that its investigations focus on major offenders, where the crime can involve thousands or millions of dollars. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Maria Gabriel.
Technical Support Manager with Central Point Software. And next to Teresa, we have Ed Ezak, President of EasyX Publishing. Jan?
Teresa, your software that you're going to show us today is something that people can use to break copy protection and make copies. Do you feel any ethical issues in selling this kind of software?
Not at all. Consumers have the right to make archival backups of their protected software. We have copyright laws displayed on our screens as well as in our manual, letting them know, warning them against using our product illegally.
Of course, many people still use it illegally, as you know.
That's correct.
But no ethical questions on your part?
Well, not at all. Again, if you buy a $60 program, you don't want to give it to your 5-year-old to play. You want to give them a backup disc so that they you know, so that you don't have to worry about going out and spending an additional $60 once that original disc is ruined.
Ed, what's your thought on the ethical question that we start with?
Well, I have no problem with it. I agree with the copyright laws. I think they're adequate. But as you know, we copy protect our program, and we only copy protect our program to protect honest people from making an honest mistake.
All right, let's turn to Copy 2 PC. You, in fact, have two different products at Central Point that let you copy protected programs, right?
That's right. We have a line of Copy 2 products that run on different types of computers. For IBM, we have Copy 2 PC, and then we later introduced the Deluxe Option Board.
Okay, now show us first Copy 2 PC. How does that work, and how would we get around Copy?
Well, the Copy 2 PC has three main components. The main program file here is Copy 2 PC. It allows you to make bit-for-bit copies of original discs. It transfers it to the blank diskette.
All right, I notice, as you mentioned, you have the federal copyright law statement up there on the screen, which you keep up there the whole time, in fact, you said.
Exactly.
All right, it's up there. Show us now how you would use it. Suppose, I mean, a typical case is somebody wants to make a copy of Lotus 123, right, and you can't. How would I use Copy 2 PC?
Well, I've made a backup with Copy 2 PC previous to this, to the showing, and I have the backup disk here.
And just tell us what you're doing as you do it.
Okay, I'll show here that the copy of Lotus at this point will not run. This particular protection scheme requires one of our other files on the diskette called NoGuard.
Okay, so hold it a minute. Now, you made a copy of 123, but as you try to run it, it says, where's the key disk?
Exactly. It's asking for the original disk.
Okay. Now, how do we solve that problem?
The NoGuard will actually remove the copy protection from the backup diskette. We have some generic entries based on the type of protection scheme that a program is using. We also have specific programs names listed here. This is specifically for Lotus 123. We have, it's asking here if the backup was created with Copy 2 PC. Yes, it's asking where the original disk will be. Indicate drive A. Now, you have to have the original diskette. It must be write protected, so there's no chance of doing any damage or making any modifications to the original. It's reading information from the system disk. And now it will process this information to the backup diskette.
Okay, now this is the same copy of 123 we just used a minute ago,
Absolutely.
right?
It's going to work this time, right?
Well, let's see, Jan.
Theoretically, it should work. One question I have is, the copy protection schemes are always being added. In other words, new schemes come up all the time. How do you keep up with that?
Well, when copy protection was really prevailing, we updated Copy 2 PC about once every 3 months.
All right, and there's 123, in fact, coming up and running properly
Exactly
after
right.
you ran that NoGuard program. Tell us about the option board and why you need that as opposed to Copy 2 PC, Teresa.
Okay, the option board goes inside the machine and connects to the floppy disk controller card and the floppy drives. When you're using the software that comes with our board, you're completely bypassing your disk controller card. Some protection schemes rely on the way the floppy disk controller card works in the machine to get around programs such as Copy 2 PC.
All right, now, for example, excuse me, if you can get out of that, a lot of games, as we know, are copy protected and hard to make copies of. You have a copy of the F-19 flight simulator kind of program there, which won't work which you can't copy under Copy 2 PC,
That's right. It's very heavily copy protected. In fact, the Copy 2 PC program cannot back it up. The option board does have the ability to do so.
All right, now just to prove it, show me what you've got there. All right, that's a copy you made of F-19.
Exactly. With
the option board. And let's see if that works.
And this is a situation where you could put that original game program away in a safe place
And there it is.
And work exclusively from the...
Ed, I want to turn to you now, if I can, and the product you have, which is what, EasyCopy Plus?
That's correct.
How is your approach different from what we just saw from Central Point Software?
Well, Central Point Software is obviously looking to back up copy-protected software. We're really not. We're interested in providing a means whereby a user, whether it be a small software publisher, large software publisher, large corporation who needs to distribute copies of the program widely, can make mass copies very quickly on a standard PC, XD, AT, or whatever. That's the basic difference. We do have one part of our program, the plus part of our program called Copy Easy, which can generate file images and save them to hard drive and compress them so that these file images can be transmitted along, similar to a fax, like via modem, to another location. And if they have easy disk,
they can literally recreate an original disk at their location so that the two can talk or conduct whatever business is necessary.
See, go ahead.
You can put serial numbers on the disks as you duplicate them, is that right?
Right. Copy Easy, which is one of the subsets of EasyCopy Plus, is, as I said, a diskette duplication program. It allows you to mass copy diskettes either from reading a master or from a file image that you've saved to disk. And if you want to, for distribution, we're a software publisher, and we use it, of course, and we serialize our disks this way.
Can you give us a quick demo of how you would use EasyCopy?
Okay, we're going to get into...
And so give us a little play-by-play as to what you're doing.
Okay. What we're going to first, run is the program. We have a little menu here. Okay, what we're going to first do is we're going to run EasyDisk. Now, if you look at EasyDisk, what you can do here is you can copy disk to file, copy file to disk, or copy disk to disk. Let's look at the submenu of copying a disk to a file. What we can do here is, of course, we can read from any of the source drives. We can check both or one side of the diskette for data. We can read all sectors, including most copy-protected programs, or only DOS-allocated sectors, which is faster. Obviously, when you read all sectors, it's slower because there's analysis that goes on. And then we can compress the data to the hard drive under normal compression or advanced compression to to decrease the file size for later file transmission.
Right, show us how you do this.
Okay, well, it's relatively easy. Let's just change this to DOS-allocated so it's a little bit faster. And hit enter. If you put that in the A drive for me, please. And it asks for a destination file name. I'll give it one. File name already exists. We're going to bypass it since we did before. And what it does is it does an analysis of the disk, realizes it's truly a DOS disk, as you can see over there, and then reads the contents, 40 tracks in this case, and stores it into the file. And stores it into a file. First, it does it into RAM memory, and then it stores it into a file when it's done. After that time, what you can then do is take that file, transmit it via modem, or call it up 2, 3, 10 weeks from now, whatever.
Now, your program is copy protected, is that right?
That's correct. As I said earlier, we copy protect our program only because we want to keep honest people from making honest mistakes.
Could your software break the copy protection?
No, of course not.
Can Teresa's software break the copy protection on your disk?
I don't know. At least with the latest version that we've seen, even with the option board, it cannot. But, as you know, technology is changing all the time. We, of course, our EasyDisk was not originally designed to be copy protection. It was designed to recreate images. So as a result, we don't make any claims about copy protection. We say it may or may not, but in most cases it does.
Teresa, Ed, thank you very much. Now, one of the main tools in the business world in protecting against software piracy is self-enforcement, or a kind of corporate honor system. We have a report on one company's policy on software piracy.
Corporations are among the biggest purchasers of software, and they present a very tempting environment for software piracy. Buying software for 100 or more PCs can cost tens of thousands of dollars. Yet companies such as Pete Marwick are determined to keep their software use legitimate.
I think when you look to professional accounting firms and you look to CPAs, certainly you've got to start there that the cornerstone of our business is integrity, probity, our ethics. It's obvious that no one can develop a policing policy or procedure so that someone can't copy software out there somewhere. But I think it really starts from the top.
At Pete Marwick, new employees sign a statement accepting the company's policy on honoring software copyrights. The company also discourages employees from copying software for personal home use.
What we have done is that we've installed the software into libraries that are fairly complex, and for many of the people that are using the software, it's complex enough so that they aren't able to readily figure out where the various pieces of the software are that they would need to copy to get a complete set of files in order to take that with them. So we have some kind of confidence that the software won't be copied from doing those things.
In the end, companies like Pete Marwick have to depend not only on policy, but on a program of trust and education to ensure that employees use software in a responsible way. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Maria Gabriel.
He's president of SoftGuard Systems. Next to David, we have Jonathan Webb, product marketing specialist with Rainbow Technologies, and also with us Ken Wash, executive director of the Software Publishers Association. Jan?
Ken, the software products that we saw in the previous segment that helped decode copy protection schemes, do you view these products and these companies as the enemy?
Well, not necessarily. All users have what we call a Section 117 right. That comes from the Copyright Act. They have a right to make a backup copy. But the making of any other copy is a violation of federal copyright law.
Mm-hmm. It seems as though the SPA has been moving from the stance of let's sue everybody to more of a stance of let's work with you, companies, to help the problem, and also public awareness.
Well, that's a good point. We have a range of weapons in our arsenal to fight piracy. One is litigation. In the last 18 months, we've filed 30 lawsuits. But we've recently come about a very interesting and very successful campaign, which is the corporate audit. And through a corporate audit, we call up a company or write them a letter and say, we'd like to come in and do an audit. And the terms of the audit usually are that they pay for the illegal software. So if you have 50 copies of WordPerfect that you've paid for, and you have 100 copies in use, you'll pay the SPA Copyright Protection Fund a penalty or a violation amount of 50 times the retail price of WordPerfect. Then you have to destroy the illegal copies because we can't wave a magic wand and make illegal copies legal again. Then you have to go out and purchase the new software. So under this scheme, the defendant company ends up paying twice for each piece of illegal software. But it's a terrific alternative to litigation.
David, in terms of the tools in the arsenal that Ken was talking about, one of those tools is copy protection schemes, and you've got one of those. Tell us about it.
SoftGuard has been in the business of providing copyright packaging technology for about 6 years and has supplied technology to such industry leaders as Ashton Tate and Lotus, and continues to do so mostly in the international community today, but continues to work with the leaders and working with alternative packaging technologies to help them manage the distribution of their software, particularly throughout Fortune 500 companies. What we've got here today is I'm going to show a brief demonstration of the two-step process that's associated with making protected diskettes. Now, this is something that can happen by, that can be done by a PC coordinator at a Boeing, or it can be done by a product manager at Ashton Tate.
It could be a developer or a corporate end user.
Exactly.
All right, so show us how to use this.
We get to the selection menu where we identify the name of the program that we're going to be working with. We identify the name of the company, which will show up in installation processes. And we also identify the name of the product to be packaged. In this case, I'm just using Superlock. And here we have a variety of options. The key ones are that it allows you to make this from a hard disk and that it allows you to vary the number of installs from a copy-protected diskette to take care of the concerns that legislation has provided us over time. So I'm going to break out of this just for time's sake, and so then I'm going to go back to, and I'll show you what it looks like to run the duplication utility. This serves a couple purposes. The duplication utility, because it's sold on a metered basis, is also copy protected. So it gives us an opportunity to see what the process looks like. We have two components. One is a signature, which exists on the floppy diskette, and then there's signature verification processing. In the earlier segment, we saw two examples where they could duplicate the signature in some cases or strip off the copy protection, the signature verification processes. And what's happening here is that it's checking the signature track to make sure that this is a legitimate copy.
The copy of Copy 2 PC that we just saw a few minutes ago seems as though Teresa was sort of peeling off those layers of protection.
This is a part of the ongoing push and pull of this part of the business. What she was working with was a much earlier release of Superlock, which has subsequently been updated so that if she tried to use the option board or Copy 2 PC with SGCopy, for instance, it wouldn't work.
Sounds kind of like spy versus spy here.
It's very much the case, and uses a lot of our R&D resources as well as a lot of theirs.
How often do you have to update your schemes to outrun the other products?
Historically, it was about every 3 months. At this point, we've made enough progress, and so have they, that it's about every 6 months, maybe every 9 months. So it's getting materially more stable. We're getting better at our job and making some serious advances in technology. So SGCopy is just a duplication utility that then allows you to make copies and copy-protected copies. So you just have a variety of options to choose from, and that's that. So I will get out of this one.
Yeah, David, I want to ask if we can get Jonathan in here to try to show this other approach here to copy protection. And Jonathan, if you can take over the computer here if you'd like. You've got something else called Sentinel Shell, which is a slightly different approach. Tell us about it.
That's correct. What the Sentinel Shell does is it puts a shell around an off-the-shelf application so that it cannot be pirated and made copies of and run. However, you can still make all the backups, all the copies that you need. You just cannot run the application without one of our proprietary keys on the port.
All right, so I mean that's a physical tool you need, literally a key to run the software.
A key to run the software
protected with your system.
That's correct.
Show us an example of how you could solve the problem by using that device.
Certainly. Well, basically, all the application is, all I have to do is get to the program. Okay. What I have to do is I have to run our application, what we call Sent Shell, and then type in the name of the application that I want to protect. In this case, I'm protecting Harvard Business Graphics. And the command is very simple. There is an hd.exe for executable.
Okay, so say I'm a company, I've got Harvard Graphics, I want to control the use of this.
That's correct.
And this is what I would do to
Right, you're a network administrator or you're a manager of many
so what happens when you then run Sent Shell?
When I run this program, it will encapsulate this program, putting a shell over the application, and that shell can only be unlocked with the proper key attached to the parallel port.
So what's it doing right now?
Right now what it's doing is it's actually encrypting parts of that application and storing it back on the hard disk.
So because of the fact that you have an actual hardware solution, the programs we saw in the previous segments really wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to basically protect against them.
That's correct. They will not and cannot break our hardware protection.
So you can't defeat the key system, you're saying, because it's hardware, it's just not software.
It's hardware, and it's
okay, so
really
what's happening now? We've got that done.
What we've done is now the program's done, and to prove that it doesn't work, what we can do is remove the key, and we try to run the program.
Okay, so David just took the key out of the system. You're going to try to run Harvard Graphics without the key.
Type in the Harvard Graphics command.
It says access denied.
Access denied.
All right, let's put the key back on, David. Okay, and now?
Type in the command again.
Try to run Harvard Graphics.
Try to run Harvard Graphics. And what it's doing right now is it is decrypting that very complex algorithm that we have in there. And it takes just a second.
And there's Harvard Graphics
with the key on.
Yeah.
And a network administrator would deliver one copy of the software with one key.
All right, we just have about 30 seconds left. Ken, you've got at SPA a software piracy hotline now. Just briefly explain what that is.
Well, we're giving ordinary users of computers and software an opportunity to call and report copyright violations. The number is 1-800-388-PIR8. And we're receiving between 10 and 15 calls a day. And we investigate them and decide whether we want to litigate or we want to conduct a corporate audit.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That's our look at software piracy. We'll be back in just a minute with this week's
In the random access file this week, lots of aftershocks to the big Windows 3.0 announcement from Microsoft. The first real Windows 3 application is Toolbook from Asymmetrics. Toolbook is described as a software construction set to design graphic front ends for applications running under Windows 3. Toolbook is a HyperCard type environment for the PC and Windows. In fact, another third-party developer is offering a program that lets you translate HyperCard stacks into Toolbook applications. A runtime version of Toolbook is being bundled with Windows 3.0. Apple execs are taking their shot at a new Windows platform. One Apple spokesman said Windows 3 is no threat to the Macintosh environment. Others were quoted as saying Windows 3 marked the death of the command line interface for personal computers. And Jim Davis, Apple's head of software marketing, said Windows 3 will kill the low-end PC clone market and also slow down OS2 development. PC World magazine and InfoWorld are offering free test drive versions of the new Windows product to their readers. Response cards will be included in issues of each magazine that will entitle you to receive a demo copy. Hewlett-Packard announced its new version of the New Wave interface, which operates on top of Windows. New Wave now offers network support, easier integration among applications, and the use of agents, which act like smart macros to automate routine computing tasks. One of the main features of Windows 3.0 is that it breaks the 640K DOS barrier and lets you access up to 48 megabytes of memory for Windows applications. Other improvements in Windows include faster processing, colorful three-dimensional icons, better-looking proportionally spaced fonts, and a variety of built-in desktop applications, including a solitaire game. Taking a look at this week's top 10 software for the IBM PC and compatibles, PC Connection reports that QuarterDeck's expanded Memory Manager 386 still tops the charts, followed by the 6.0 version of PC Tools Deluxe, WordPerfect 5.1, Windows 3.0, and CRAM. Rounding out the top 10 for the PC are InfoSelect, PC File 5.0, Procom Plus, Quicken, and DeskView 386. QuarterDeck has announced a new graphical user interface version of DeskView. The main feature of the new DeskView is its X-window capability, meaning users can simultaneously run DOS and X-window applications on a Unix network. Apple says it's coming out with a new version of its Unix operating system, AUX 2.0. The main benefit right now of using the Apple Unix is to hook up your Macintosh to a Unix-based network. Well, finally, two congressmen say the U.S. is facing a potential major national catastrophe as a result of poor computer security in the federal government. A recent report from the General Accounting Office said key computer networks like those of the FAA and the IRS are vulnerable to infiltration. That's it for this week's Computer Chronicles. I'm Maria Gabriel.
The Computer Chronicles is made
Computer Chronicles is made possible by contributing viewers in partnership with Burgoyne Computers Incorporated, bringing Utah a full range of quality computer products and service since 1975 in downtown Salt Lake City and now in the Mid-Valley Family Center.
Celebrating KBYU, a part of your life for 25 years.
And that's one thing I've really appreciated is the TV, the guide that challenged